Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a truly fascinating strategic blueprint for a place literally known as the Land of Gems. We're talking about Luc Yen. It's this mountainous district in Vietnam where you could, quite literally, trip over a rough ruby while out for a hike. For decades now, this region has been famous among gem enthusiasts worldwide for its incredible, high-value deposits of rubies, sapphires, and spinels. But here's the thing, having precious stones in the ground doesn't automatically equal long-term prosperity. What we are looking at today is a universal blueprint, an ambitious, highly structured transformation plan to take Luc Yen from simply being a source of raw gems to a thriving global hub of tourism, education, and international trade.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the ecosystem breakdown we're going to explore today. We'll start with the hidden gems dilemma, then move into experiential gemstone tourism, building an education hub, expanding international cooperation, and finally, the 2040 transformation vision.
Starting with Section 1, the hidden gems dilemma. Rich in resources, poor in retention. Now here's the core irony of Luc Yen right now. They've got this peaceful environment, super friendly locals, and of course, world-famous gemstones. But the local economy hasn't really caught up. So we've got to ask the million-dollar question. Why does a region literally famous for sapphires and rubies fail to keep tourists around? Because currently, most visitors just make these really quick trips. They stay for maybe a day or two, their spending remains pretty low, and honestly, they aren't given many compelling reasons to return. The current tourism products just lack distinction, the infrastructure isn't quite synced up, and the branding is weak.
To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at a pretty fascinating comparison. Take a neighboring region, like Hajiang. Now, Hajiang doesn't have world-famous gemstones buried in its soil, yet it has this booming community and cultural tourism scene, amazing local branding, and visitors who stay for extended periods. Then look at Luc Yen. They are sitting on actual literal treasures, yet they're stuck with short visits and low tourist retention. So it's not just about having the resources, right? It's about the model you use to actually extract value from them. Luc Yen desperately needs a cohesive strategy to turn that raw potential into sustainable long-term economic value.
Which brings us to Section 2, experiential gemstone tourism, building the experience.
This is the first major pillar of their whole transformation plan, and it's a total game changer. It's a fundamental shift from passive sightseeing to fully immersive participation. Think about it. Instead of just buying a gem behind a glass counter, tourists actually become part of the story. First, they get to do some simulated mining, actually finding rough stones in safe, designated geological zones. Then they head into a workshop to learn how to facet, cut, and polish their own gem, maybe even creating a simple piece of jewelry out of it. Finally, they step out to navigate the vibrant local gem market, which transforms from just a basic trading post into a lively cultural space. You aren't just visiting, you're actively digging, creating, and engaging with the soul of the region.
So the crucial point here is experiential geotourism. By allowing visitors to actively engage with the local geology through that simulated mining and academic exploration we just talked about, you completely change the math. Visitors stay much longer. They spend a lot more. Suddenly, you're creating this whole new value chain that boosts local hospitality, dining, and crafts. Furthermore, it builds a massive community brand. Every single local citizen, from the artist in cutting stones to the kid making content on TikTok or YouTube, acts as a brand ambassador for this friendly, civilized land of gems.
Moving right along to Section 3, building an education hub, the knowledge shift.
Now, experiential tourism is awesome for the visitor, but to sustain this long-term, well, raw resources eventually run out, right? But knowledge creates continuous, generational value. That is how you future-proof any economy. That's exactly why this strategic plan highlights partnering with institutions like the University of Mining and Geology to open a specialized training center right there in Luc Yen. They're focusing on gemology training for grading and design, geological research that integrates surveying with conservation, and a really cool geotourism university model. This totally shifts the focus from merely pulling raw stones out of the dirt to actually refining human capital. It brings in students, it brings in experts, and it drives specialized urbanization.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really powerful idea. When knowledge is present locally, the local future changes. By providing high-quality jobs, professional training, and building this dynamic economic ecosystem, you are finally giving young people a rock-solid reason to stay in or return to their hometown, to start businesses rather than feeling like they have to leave for the bigger cities. The future of Luc Yen isn't just buried in the ground, it's quite literally in the minds of its people.
All right, Section 4, expanding international cooperation, global connectivity. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it maps everything out. Because for Luke and Yen to truly break out, it absolutely cannot operate in isolation. The master plan directly maps their local assets to massive international opportunities. Since they have raw gemstones and a very safe environment, they can attract world-renowned certification bodies, places like the GIA or IGI, to actually open labs locally. Then you look at their traditional crafting skills and available land, and that opens the door to host international workshops with groups like the United States Facetors Guild. And of course, those stunning natural landscapes, they plug perfectly into global ecotourism networks.
This right here is the ultimate paradigm shift for the region, selling high-value brands and experiences, not just selling raw stones. Look, a gemstone is beautiful on its own, for sure, but it's the brand, the certification, the origin story, and that international recognition that actually allows its value to truly reach the global market.
And that brings us to Section 5, the 2040 Transformation Vision, the roadmap.
Because let's be real, a master plan is just a dream without a roadmap, and this strategic document outlines exactly how this transformation is designed to scale logically from the ground up. From 2025 to 2027, the focus is all on building the foundation, promoting the local image, developing community awareness, and upgrading basic infrastructure. Then, through 2030, the ecosystem really expands, as training centers are built, large-scale events begin, and major investments are attracted. Finally, looking towards 2035, we see global integration taking hold, with international research hubs being established and specialized urbanization advancing cleanly and deliberately.
Let's move to and see how this builds toward the ultimate milestone, the year 2040. By this point, the vision sees Luqian fully transformed from just a mountainous mining district into a highly specialized modern city. It becomes a regional center for gemstone trading, an international hub for geological research, and a premier destination for experiential geotourism. It's an entire ecosystem where tourism, education, and the community perfectly align. The master plan concludes with a really powerful call to action for the local government, businesses, universities, and everyday citizens alike. To rise, we must think big. Transforming Luqian is going to require a long-term vision, patience, and a unified community effort to ensure development is sustainable and actually preserves the region's unique cultural and ecological identity.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. Luqian's strategy shows us that raw materials are really just a starting point. The real value is created above ground. Will knowledge and experience be the new precious gems of the 21st century? Looking at the transformation of Luqian, the answer suggests a resounding yes. Thank you so much for joining me in exploring this fascinating blueprint, and I hope it sparks some curiosity about how regions can strategically reinvent themselves for the future.